I'm really honored here. I'm kind of actually shocked to be here with the great Michael Biehn. Come on, Aliens, Terminator, The Abyss, The Fan, and now The Divide, which is probably one of the most family-friendly films I've seen in years.
Yep.
It's a
Bring
lovely,
the kids,
bring
for
the
sure.
kids.
Yeah.
Man, you went to a dark place with this one.
Well, I didn't. Well, you know what? It's Xavier Gens basically, and you know, he sent me a script, and it was dark, and he said to his actors, you know, if you want to do some improvisations, or if you want to, you know, write some scenes, you know, go for it, you know. And we just kept getting darker and darker, and I mean, if you just look around today, look around at like YouTube, and you know, see what happened to Muammar Gaddafi and stuff, you know. And
Yeah.
shit happens. People are like that, you know. Deep down, inside, all of us are capable of that kind of stuff, you know. And it's a hard movie to watch. It reminds me of Requiem for a Dream a little bit. I'm not comparing the two, or the two directors or anything, but you kind of walk out of there going, I think I'm glad I saw that movie, you know. A lot of really, really good performances in it. Milo Ventimiglia is great in it, and Roseanne Arquette is just off the charts, and a kid named Michael Eklund. It's just some great acting, and great ensemble cast. I was really, really happy to be involved in it.
It was hard for me to watch Roseanne Arquette. Just that character is so utterly heartbreaking.
Yeah, she is.
My God.
Yeah.
Now, you spend a lot of time taped up. You get really fucked up in this film, to be quite honest. What kind of preparation for you as an actor? I mean, that looked like a terrible time for you to be involved in it.
No, man, I just, I didn't, you know, like, I don't, you know, I wasn't sitting in that chair the entire time. I mean, I got out of that chair whenever I felt like it, but, you know, I work with Friedkin, I work with Jim Cameron, I work with Michael Biehn, you know, and I've never been on a set before that had this much tension. I mean, there was downright hatred for each other, downright, like, in your face, motherfucker, hatred, you know, and the producers had to be continually called down to the set. I had to separate actors a couple of times. It was nasty. And then we'd go back to the hotel. You know, people always say to me, like, isn't it hard, like, you know, like when you're playing a character, then just to put it down, and when you go home, you go home? And I'm like, no, it's easy. I'm acting. It's no big deal. But, like, we had a few people on this movie that, like, they took it back to the hotel, man. And they're like, you know, we'd be sitting outside smoking in front of the hotel, and one of them would say, you know, if that motherfucker steps out the door, I'm going to fucking drop him, you know. And he was serious, man. And there was some serious hostilities going on that set, man. Some really, really, and it was because Xavier kind of set us up against each other, you know.
Yeah.
This was Xavier's, I think, this was his idea right from the beginning, was to make us jealous of each other and dislike each other and pick sides. And that's what would happen in a situation like that, you know.
Did you take on kind of a fatherly role, or
I took on a, like, just fucking cool it kind of role,
Yeah.
all right? We're just making a movie here. Let's everybody just cool it, all right? You know, I'd take one group away and I'd say, listen, you know, these people are being assholes. You're not. Just, you know, let's just do our job, you know, keep your hands off, you know, whatever, you know. And the other side, you know, and then they would cross, then somebody would jump over to the other side, and, you know, it was crazy.
That's insane.
It was insane. This is a situation where it was just like balls out, do anything you want, and if I like it, I'll film it, you know. And so the character that I played, basically, he didn't have any of the 9/11 stuff, none of that was in there.
Really?
Yeah, that was all created. He was actually the antagonist in the movie right up to the very end, where he got his in a very awful way, you know, like most antagonists get. And we changed that character as we were shooting. I didn't know it, but it just kind of veered off into different directions as we got into the 9/11 stuff. You know, we started feeling a little bit more sympathetic for the guy, you know, and the fact that he was hiding the food just so he could find out who was going to be the good guys and who was going to be the bad guys. And then towards the end of the movie, you know, and it's burning, and I'm like, you know, like I take my fire coat and I put it over the other character, you know, and when I go out like, you know, my backstory was that I was a you know, like first arrival guy at 9/11, and I went in with my team and like went into one of the buildings, and the building came down and I was the only one left standing, you know. So I ended up with like post-traumatic stress disorder, you know, started drinking, lost my family, lost my job, you know, became paranoid, and like that's the character that you meet, you know, this character that really doesn't have any humanity left in his life at the beginning of the movie. And my character is somebody that doesn't have any humanity, and then towards the end of the movie kind of finds this humanity.
Now the director, did he give you guys any sort of arc or say, well, okay, you're going to change this dialogue, you're going to change that, but you have to get from A to B?
Well, we basically knew who was going to be the last person out the door.
Okay.
And basically, you got to go to him with an improv, and if he didn't like it, he wouldn't shoot it. Or you could go to him with a scene and say, listen, can I shoot this scene? And if he didn't like it, he wouldn't shoot it. So in his mind, he knew where he was going. We just didn't know where we were going. We were going over, you know, the first day of shooting, we're here. The next day of shooting, we think we're going to be here. We're over here. And then the third day of shooting, we think we're going to be here, and then we're over here. He knew what he was doing. Xavier knew what he was doing. Xavier is a very smart man. He's about this tall. He's like a little Oompa Loompa guy. Always smiling, always laughing, always, you know, he's got like an 8-year-old's mentality, but he's, in a sense, a very smart guy. And so he knew he was pitting us against each other. And so he was the person who decided, like, which improvs were going to be left in, which improvs were going to be shot. You know, which I'd take a scene to him. Can we shoot this, you know? Yeah, okay, we shoot tomorrow. We shoot this, Michael, you know? Or, I don't think so, Michael. Or maybe you change, you know, or whatever. And so everybody was doing that, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty wild.
Well, how much of it was actually shot that you didn't use?
There's a lot.
Okay.
There's a lot, probably another hour and a half.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing that struck me the most, you know, you watch the film.
You know, when he delivered it to Anchor Bay, Ross Dinnerstein, who I respect totally, I give him credit for putting the movie together, but as a producer said, listen, it's, you can't have a 2-hour movie, you know, or an hour and 45-minute movie. It's got to be 95 minutes or 100 minutes or something like that. That's what producers do. I mean, that's their job, is to tell their filmmaker, you know, like, you can't have a 2.5-hour movie, you know. So he told them that. They cut it down to whatever they cut it down to. They gave it to Anchor Bay. Anchor Bay bought it, I should say, at South by Southwest. Okay. And then Anchor Bay took a look at it and said to Xavier, you got any more of this shit? You know? So then Anchor Bay let him add his 15 minutes back into the movie again. And Ross was like this, and I was like this too, because I thought the first run around worked very well, but I've seen the second run around. You can't even, it doesn't feel a bit longer at all.